Have you ever been so tired, so completely drained, that even the idea of praying feels, well, it just feels like too much? It's a feeling we've all had. But what if that exact moment of weakness, that feeling of having nothing left to give, isn't an obstacle to prayer, but an invitation? We're going to look at a pretty profound story from way back in the 13th century that gives us a timeless lesson on how to pray when we feel like we have absolutely nothing left to give.
So yeah, that's the big question, right? When you're running on empty, physically, emotionally, spiritually, what does an honest conversation with God even look like then? Well, the answer, which we find in this incredible story, is probably not what you're expecting. All right, so let me introduce you to the hero of our story. Her name is Gertrude, a mystic living back in the 1200s. And when we meet her, she's not just having a bad day, she's in a state of total collapse after a long, really difficult night.
The original text gives us this really powerful image. It says that Gertrude, after an entire night without a wink of sleep, found that her strength had, and I quote, entirely failed. Now, this isn't just being a little sleepy. We're talking about a profound, rock-bottom kind of exhaustion. She had completely hit a wall.
So in this state of just complete and utter weakness, you'd probably expect her to pray for relief, right? To just beg for it all to stop. But Gertrude does something totally different. She offers up a prayer that completely changes the whole point of getting rest. Let's really listen to these words. She asks for rest, yeah, but listen to the reason why. Not for my own satisfaction. It has nothing to do with her own comfort. It is completely selfless. She just wants to be restored so she can get back to her work, to her duties. She's basically saying, hey, can you help me out so I can get back to helping you?
And the response she gets, wow. It's so much more than just an answer to her prayer. It's this direct, deeply personal invitation. It's this huge shift, you know? It goes from a request for functional rest to an offer of something way more intimate. I mean, how incredibly tender is that reply? The invitation isn't just to go to sleep, it's to repose on my heart. It suggests a kind of rest that you can't find by just escaping everything, but by getting closer, by trusting. God isn't just granting her request, He is offering Himself as the very place of rest. And this just perfectly sets up a much deeper truth about what our weakness really means.
So Gertrude gets this beautiful, loving invitation, but then the Lord explains to her why her prayer, the one she offered when she was totally exhausted, was so incredibly powerful. And folks, this right here is the heart of the whole story.
He explains it with this amazing analogy. He tells her that her prayer is like having a dear friend who is just wiped out, totally overcome with sleep, but they still drag themselves out of bed just for the sake of being with you. That simple, struggled act of just showing up, that's what matters. In fact, the text goes on to say that this offering of weakness, when you bear it with humility, is infinitely more pleasing than all the prayers of someone who's strong and for whom it's no trouble at all.
So what's the bottom line here? The crucial point is that Gertrude's experience completely flips our entire idea of what good prayer is. It turns out it's not about how strong we are or how eloquent we sound or how long we can go. It's about our presence. It's just about showing up.
So what does all this mean for us? You know, when we're at our own breaking point? It means that prayer isn't some kind of performance that we have to be strong enough for. Our simple, tired, even wordless presence is what's valued most. When we carry our weakness with humility instead of getting frustrated with it, that very act becomes a powerful offering. And maybe the most important thing is this. It shows that we don't have to get strong first to be met with compassion. It finds us right there, in the middle of our exhaustion.
And that kind of brings us to one last thought to chew on. We almost always see our weakness as a problem we have to fix, right? A barrier to get over. But what if Gertrude's story is trying to tell us something completely different? What if our moments of greatest weakness aren't failures at all, but are actually invitations to lean into a totally different kind of strength, one that we find not in our own power, but in simple, humble presence?